we have one intention, and that intention is to help you get a paying customer. Does that happen every single time? Absolutely not. But here's what we do have. We have our 3-day workshops, we have our 5-day challenges, we have our spotlight sessions, we have master classes, we have mastermind in person, we have a conference coming up in 2 weeks. If you, for some reason, haven't seen any marketing around that, what we do focus on education with the same intention, which is getting you a paying customer. Today, I have Jim Edwards as our guest. Now, if you don't know who Jim Edward is, I'll tell you, I came around Jim Edwards' content, I would say around 2014, 15 as a early agency owner slash freelancer starting out in the world of marketing. And Jim was really the foundation of my own copywriting skills. And he helped me develop skill set that I didn't even know I had. And let me go ahead and kind of get an idea of the crowd here. How many of you, if you notice in the Zoom chat, you'll see it's turned off. I want you to all go to our Facebook page streaming, and I want to see some comments there. First of all, I want to know where you're from, where you're checking in from, because it matters to me. I want to make sure we serve you at the best level. But in addition to that, I want to also understand how many of you value copywriting. Okay, copywriting, in my opinion, is one of the most foundational and rather underrated skills in the world of marketing. It's kind of the glue that brings all these businesses together. So without any further ado, let me read out a formal intro here. It's rather short, but I'll kind of give you some notes on Jim here. Jim is an international best-selling author and copywriter and has been transforming the online selling landscape since 1997. With over 2 decades of experience and a proven track record, including dozens of best-selling books, some of which I've read, and countless sales letters, mostly all of them I've seen at this point, it is generating tens of millions of dollars in sales and subscribers. He's uniquely equipped to help you craft compelling offers that stand out in the crowded online space. Just the few couple of weeks and months that I've got to spend time with Jim and his team, I can tell you he is a rock star, man. He knows what he's doing. And some of the principles of marketing that he's teaching is extremely powerful. Jim, thanks for saying yes to us, man.
I'm excited to be here, and how could I not say yes to you, Paulson? With that amazing beard and that amazing background, I'm just, yes, whatever you need, I'm here.
So let's go into the why. Jim, why are we doing this? I mean, it took us like a month and a half to plan this out. We know education is so important, especially in a world of SaaSpreneurs, software people, funnelers, funnel hackers. I mean, the marketing world. Copywriting is, I mean, like I feel like it's the brick that builds the house or the glue that keeps the businesses together. Why are we doing this workshop, Jim?
So the big reason why we're doing this workshop is that you got the ultimate tool to be able to put up the funnels, to be able to do the follow-ups, to do all the metrics, and to do all the tracking. But here's the thing. You got to know how to put the words on the screen, the words on paper, the words into scripts, the words out of your mouth that actually get people to take the actions, that turn into the leads, that turn into the sales, that enable you to build stronger relationships with people. And you have the tools, but if you don't have the words, it's really hard to make the tools work. And so this is kind of the thing. If you think about, you see an ad for Go High Level, or you see somebody and they show you all the cool things they do. Like, heck yeah, I'm signing up. I'm in. And you set up a funnel or you set up a website and you pull up to the editor and you go over there to the left and you click the plus and then you throw the thing in there to put in the title block or the headline block. And you're like, oh crap. What do I say? What do I put in? That's copywriting. And so that's the single, in my experience, The single most profitable skill that you can develop, and nobody's born being able to write copy. Okay, the single most profitable skill that you can develop, even over and above brain surgery, is knowing how to put words on a paper, put words into a script, words on a page that get people to buy, try, click, sign up, or get on a call or a Zoom with you. Most profitable thing you can do.
Brilliant. Now, help us understand. Well, first of all, those of you that just joined, we're getting ready to rock a amazing workshop here. I want to know where you all from. Like, help me understand. I see a few people from Germany here, some folks from London. Let's see. I've seen people here from California,
It says
Florida.
California like a separate country. Germany, this and that. Oh, in California. Wow, dude, I'm from California originally. It's not a whole different country.
What's funny is I'm from Texas, and we do think we have our own country here in Texas. So I'm glad so I see people here. Okay, some Canadians. I love seeing the interactions from a lot of you here, because it gives us a good ballpark of where you are. And also, if you can be vulnerable on this workshop, tell us. It's okay. No, it's a judge-free zone. Tell us if you're starting out and you don't have any clients just yet. Or maybe tell us you have some clients, you're starting out, maybe five, less than five, or tell us maybe you are a bit more seasoned. Maybe you have 100 clients, maybe you have 200 clients. Tell us where you are in your digital journey, and that also gives us an idea of not only where you are geographically, but what matters more is where you are in your business journey, right? Now, Jim, set the agenda if you don't mind. What are we going to learn day one, day two, day three? At the end of the workshop, what should I walk away with?
Okay, so day one, which is today, we're going to be talking about hook, story, offer. And hook, story, offer, these are really your copywriting super skills. Okay, this is understanding the fundamentals. These are the fundamentals that you're going to use in everything we're going to do. Then day two, we're going to be going over sales letter funnels. Okay, how to basically sell anything to anyone. Day three, we're going to do opt-in funnels. So how to build your list, how to build your tribe. And then we're going to do a bonus day. We're actually going to do 4 days. And this is going to be follow-up funnels. So how to build relationships on autopilot. Now, notice I didn't say, follow-up funnels. Are you going to sell everything? Okay, with emails. You will sell to people that you build a relationship with through email. And that's really been one of my big things is it's lead, sales, relationships. Those are the three big things. In fact, if I was just going to give you kind of my framework, and we're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but you need to understand what my internal representation in all this stuff is this is kind of the model. All right. At the center of everything we do is the avatar, which is the customer, your ideal customer. Who are you targeting? You can't write sales copy unless you know who you're writing it to. And then what is your offer? We're going to talk about offers today. Okay. A couple different ways to look at offers. But then around that, you got to be able to develop leads. You got to be able to convert those leads into sales. And then you want to build and develop relationships with the people that you've sold. And I call this the washing machine of profits. So that's really what we're going to be doing. But the bottom line is with all of this stuff is that the headline is what hooks attention. Are we diving in now? I'm sorry. I was jumping ahead. It's like, this is what we're going to do over the next 4 days. Let's dive into day one. How about that?
No. You kind of reminded me that this is not a 3-day workshop. We're doing a 4-day workshop, and usually we do a 3-day workshop. So we've got plenty of time to spend and go through some of these fundamentals. But yeah, absolutely dive right in. What the worst thing I can do is have a long-winded intro and we don't get into the content. So I want to, free everybody from sitting with that. So let's go right into the content as quick as we can so we can get into the practical side. And
So
Jim, do you use high level? I've seen you in other communities, but I think that's one of the white elephants we got to get out of the way. You're a legend. Everybody knows that. But what is your relationship with high level? Like, what's your journey with high level?
dude, I use high level I use high level for my main site. I'm not supposed to like give the name of it, but for my main software and stuff, I mean, this is like pitch free, 100%, giving you guys amazing value. I'm going to be speaking at the event in a couple of weeks,
That's
doing a
right.
breakout session about offers. I've put them, let's just put it this way. I put $1 million through your system. Does that give me any credibility with that? I also got customers that you're sending me money to. I love getting the, the little reward emails and stuff. So, I mean, I don't, does that count as we have a meaningful relationship?
Ab Absolutely. I'm just playing the devil's advocate for
Oh, okay.
everybody here. They're like, you know what? We've seen this guy. We've seen him everywhere. Now we're seeing him in the high level community. It's amazing. What I want to do is make sure you guys all lean in, take notes, take a lot of action around everything Jim is teaching. We have a lot of content to go through. I've seen the slides for day one, two, three, four. It's gonna be almost a it's like a Old Testament, New Testament booklet in between, if you ask me. So let's go right in.
We're just, yeah, but on the New Testament, the important parts are in red, right? So we'll just go with all the red parts. All right.
Like it.
So hook story offer is really what we're going to be going over today. I'm just going to, my intention is to give you stuff you can use immediately, not try and force feed you my 300 page book. Okay. So the hook, the main intention behind the hook is to grab attention. We'll talk about how you do that in this training. The story is really to build emotion. And the story has a pretty wide definition of what a story is. Okay. A story can be a story, or the story can just be the content between the hook and the offer. And the offer is really divided into two parts being, the two parts can be used together or independently, but an offer typically is, when some people think of the offer, is the stack, which is all the stuff you're going to get. All right. But a big part of the offer also is the call to action. And sometimes the offer can be a call to action, which just is an invitation to do something in the next step. Don't sweat everything I've just said. This is just an overview of what we're going to go over. We're going to go in depth into all this stuff. But I just want you to understand these are the big things. A hook is to grab attention, break people out of the hypnosis that they're in, make them pay attention to your story. The story can be a story, a real story. It's content that makes them have their desire raised. And then the offer could be an offer stack, a thing, buy my thing, or it could just be an invitation to go on to the next step in the process. So the $100 million question is, why did I decide to get really good at copy? And, Paulson mentioned, I've been selling online since 1997, back before the turn of the century, man. And it's like, it's not over 2 decades. It's almost 3 decades. If you cut me in half and counted the internet rings, there'd be like 100 of them in there, because every year on the internet, it's like 7 years. I'm like dog years. I'm real old as crap, like 210. But the bottom line of why I decided to get really good at sales copy was two reasons. One, because other people who were good at sales copy, I was on the wrong end of the e-commerce spectrum. I was sending all my money through the computer and not getting any back. And I realized it was because they were putting words on a page that caused me to send them money and sign up. But I also realized that if I was going to have the impact that I wanted to have, the impact on the world, the impact on the people I'm called to serve, the impact for my family, I had to get really good at selling. I was real good at selling offline in the mortgage business, real estate, but I had to learn how to do that in print. And so that's what motivated me, and hopefully is motivating you to really pay attention and want to develop the skill. The great news is that this is a skill that you can develop. This is not something you're born with. And it's also, unlike writing the great American novel, where you are rewarded by being completely and totally original, with sales copy, you want to use established patterns. It's called a swipe file. Any copywriter worth his salt has a huge swipe file. Well, what's a swipe file? The stuff you swipe from. Your 11th grade English teacher would smack you in the face for, sorry, Catholic school. Your 11th grade English teacher might have an issue with you copying somebody else's work and modeling it, but in sales copy, nobody cares. We're doing what we know is going to work. So we're going to dive into hook, story, offer. And so when we talk about hooks, the number one thing that somebody thinks of with a hook is a headline, but a hook can be more than that. And so this is where we get to my crazy awesome slides. Okay, so this is,
And as you are pulling that up, Jim, does this concept apply to funnels only, or can I think of this as multiple areas of the business? We have a lot of SaaS people here, marketers, authors, publishers, speakers, the e-commerce people. Like, give us the context of where these concepts could be applied.
This applies to everything. It applies to blog posts. It applies to your sales pages, to your emails, to your ads, to your LinkedIn posts, to your SMS messages, everything you do. This applies to. And the number one thing, and this is also the number one area of improvement for anything, and follow-up funnels and emails and ads and all that stuff. Look at the headline. Is there an attention-grabbing first line of copy that stops readers in their track and compels them to keep reading? And a great headline draws people in. It's interesting. I was doing a training 30 some odd years ago to a bunch of real estate agents down in Florida. And to get them to understand why a headline was so important, I grabbed a copy of the Miami Herald. I got some duct tape and I put duct tape over every single headline. I held up the paper and I said, "What's wrong with this?" And he said, "There's no headlines." Yep, absolutely. Why do you need to know the headline? Well, so I know whether I want to read it or not. Right. So then I turned it around and I showed them their ad on the back of the real estate section, and I hadn't put anything over the top of it. And I said, "What's wrong with this?" They said, "Well, nothing. You didn't put any duct tape." And I said, "Yeah, because there weren't any headlines worth covering up." Oh, that was a little bit of a burn, but it's true. You gotta have, everything's got a headline. And so a headline is a hook, but a hook isn't necessarily a headline. So a hook could be an intriguing statement. It could be a question. It could be a concept, or it even could be an image that makes people want to learn more. So if you think about a Facebook ad, what's the single most important part of your Facebook ad? It's the image, or it's the first frame of the video. It's not your headline, because people look at the image first. The image is what makes them stop. Then they'll read the headline. So the hook grabs attention and sets up the rest of the sales message. So a hook can be the first few words out of your mouth. It can be a headline. It can be an image. It can be your email subject line. And also now with HTML email, the way it's all set up, now we have not only a headline, but we have a pre-head that we use in email. So you actually have a couple of hooks. But the bottom line is that a hook should make people eager to learn more about what you're offering. That is the number one key of this whole thing, is it should make them eager to know more about whatever it is you're offering. And the big thing is that a hook is a pattern interrupt. Now, that's a fancy term that basically says, here's Joe. Joe's standing here and he's got his phone out and he's looking at stuff. Maybe Joe's sitting on the can. I make no judgments about where Joe is, but Joe is looking at stuff. And as he's looking at stuff, we got to make Joe stop looking at whatever and start looking at our sales message. So a great hook makes Joe say, hey, I'm going to stop looking at cute kitty cat videos and I'm going to look at this thing about whatever it is you're selling. But it's got to grab his attention fast and it's got to interrupt his thought process. So a strong headline, in most cases, unless we're talking about social media, strong headline's what's going to get it. It's going to be the words or words and a picture. On social media, it's got to be a picture. But if you don't grab their attention, they're going to keep walking, they're going to keep scrolling, they're going to keep clicking. So I'll give you an example. The headline, at a minimum, you want to address their big problem, because that is the number one thing that is either directly on someone's mind or it's simmering just below the surface. Okay. There is a conversation going on in their mind that, something's not right. I need to solve this problem. Maybe they're thinking about it, or maybe they're looking at cute kitty cat videos. But I'll give you an example. So I was recently at a John Maxwell event. I'm on his faculty, and we train thousands of people for them. And so we were at his big event down in Orlando. And we're at our booth. Literally thousands of people walking by, and we're pitching our software. What a great opportunity to either just stand there looking like an idiot, waiting for somebody to come up and talk to you, or to go stand out in the middle of the people, say, hey, what are you struggling with right now when it comes to building your speaking business? Hey, what are you struggling with right now when it comes to coaching? What's your biggest challenge for posting on the internet? What's your biggest problem as far as running ads or actually selling and converting people? I'm literally standing there asking all these people all these different questions, testing to see which one will make this group of people stop, come over to the booth, and I can hand them off to my helpers at the booth. And so the one that we eventually settled on was, hey, how would you like to create all of your speeches or all of your talks and promotional materials in less than 5 minutes to build your Maxwell business? Oh, yeah, I'm interested. Come on over here. Or we had a thing for a training. One of the cool things that a hook that I wrote on a easel with my crap. I mean, here's my handwriting. So this is what it looked like. Okay. Huge hook. I said, today, last day to grab your Maxwell special. That was the hook. Hundreds of people who had ignored us for 4 days were coming up and asking, what's the Maxwell special? Nothing had changed. Our booth hadn't changed. Our clothes hadn't, well, we changed our shirts, but nothing else changed. What changed was the hook and the context, and got everybody to pay attention. So, pattern interrupt. And just like that pattern interrupt, you got to find the right pattern interrupt. So the beautiful thing is that built into high level is the ability to test. And you're like, oh, I'm not getting enough traffic to be able to test. You don't need a lot of traffic to be able to test one headline against another. So I'll tell you a quick story. Way back in 2003, Paulson, 2003, you were what, like 14 or something?
I'm pretty sure I was trying to convince my dad to let me start driving a car while I was in high school.
Okay. So I came out with a CD, and this was in 2003. And this CD was, I poured my heart and soul into this thing. It was really like a full circle thing for me. I'd figured out some stuff, and I was really wanted to help people with mindset and action planning and other stuff like that. It was a really good CD, but back then it was a big deal to create an audio CD. I mean, everybody was still on dial-up back then. So, or the majority of people. So anyway,
or
long
floppy
story,
disks. I think we have floppy disks for the thing.
pretty close. Okay. Having an audio CD was a big deal. So anyway, went in the studio, did the thing, had a whole bunch of time, energy lined up in this thing. And I wrote my sales letter, man. Yeah, I know how to write these sales letters, bro. So I wrote my sales letter, and I had my offer, and it was like $97. Now, back in 2003, $97 is the equivalent of like $9,000 today with inflation just playing, but not really. And so I had my little tiny list. I did not have a big list. Okay. Like we're talking a couple thousand people, nothing huge. All right. So 100 people come by, nobody buys. Another 100 people come by, nobody buys. I'm like, holy crap, I suck. You want to talk about the whole mind thing of, okay, this is a scam. But wait, it's my own thing. It's not a scam. I mean, that whole thing of not making any sales and all this other stuff. So I asked myself, I had this little voice say, okay, what would a real marketer do? And the little voice said, test the headline. So this is headline number 1, 0 sales. So I said, okay, let me test another headline. The first headline sucked. It was all about me. I mean, it was literally was something like how I went from dead broke trailer trash to world famous and a best-selling author. I mean, it was just terrible, but yet I thought it was an amazing headline. So the next one I changed it to how to gain a positively unfair advantage in business and in life. And 100 more people came through and I made a sale. Woohoo! So 1 sale, most people would be like, okay, don't touch it. You fixed it. Keep the traffic going. You don't break it. But then the little voice said, okay, well, what would a real marketer do? I'd test another headline. So I tested another headline, which was a derivation of the first one, which was basically, or the second one, how to gain a positively unfair advantage of business in life, and start. I don't remember the exact headline. I should. It's in my book. Anyway, 100 people came by, 5 sales. I've neglected to say that I didn't change anything else. I didn't change the price. I didn't change the offer. I didn't change the bonus. I didn't change. The only thing I changed was the headline. Infinite, 0 to 1 is an infinite improvement. And then 5 times a 500% improvement. So by changing a headline, I went from, holy crap, I'm going to have to go get a job at Burger King and get real good at wearing a hairnet and saying, would you like fries with that or perhaps a hot apple pie, to 6-figure funnel. Because for every 100 people I put in front of that thing, I made $500. This is not an income claim. Your results will vary. What I'm telling you, though, is that headline, and you know what the moral of the story is, Paulson?
What's that, Jim?
The moral of the story is that your sales copy can suck or be average. And if you have an exceptional headline, you will always outsell exceptional copy with a crap headline. Why? Because you're just going to get up to bat more often. Because people are going to stop and they're going to read your sales copy. That goes for your ad. It goes for your opt-in page. It goes for your presentation. If you hook them and pre-frame them, they'll stick for quite a while because they're trying to solve the problem that you told them you were going to solve.
And Jim, I'm gonna make an assumption here. That's with the assumption that the product is good.
Well, yeah. I mean,
well, a lot of people put stuff out and think it's the best thing, and they realize the market didn't confirm the demand. Right.
Well, yes, and that's a different discussion because most people, what they do is they're in the product invention business rather than the marketing business. So they spend all their time, energy, and effort creating something, and then they go in search of someone to buy it. Oh, this is amazing. I'm going to go find somebody to buy this. And then they realize the only one that wanted it was them or their mom. So you have to be able to test fast. You have to be able, they say fail fast, but I'm just, I want to save advertising dollars fast. So I'm going to make that offer. That's why I never pre-record any coaching, I never pre-record any training anymore. I sell tickets. I sell a ticket. People show up. I do the training, answer their questions, fill in the stuff. If nobody buys, then I save myself a whole bunch of time, energy, effort. But obviously, it's got to be good. So Big thing with hooks, and then we're going to get into a whole bunch of examples real quick, is that curiosity is probably your most important factor when it comes to a hook. How do they do that? What are the three things? How can I get a positively unfair advantage in this? What does that mean? Anything that they go, whoa, that sounds interesting. And then if you can tie it to the problem they want to solve, that's great. And then if you can also tie it to a seasonal thing or a current topic or something else that makes it feel fresh and relevant. So like I did a video. You want to know what it was about copywriting tip, but you know what the hook was?
I have to guess maybe something around AI because it was trendy.
Nope.
Okay.
Will there be a second debate?
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And it was, will there be a second debate? I don't know. But, and then it was just went into copy. Now, that was being kind of smart alecky, because what you don't want to do is be like, sex. Now that I have your attention, let's talk about dishwashing detergent. No, but it was fun the way we did it. It was for a short, but thinking in terms, I wouldn't do that on a sales letter. But always thinking about how can you tie something seasonal. I mean, what's the big thing that's coming up right now? I know we want to evergreen this and stuff, but in the future, there's going to be Black Friday and there's, Christmas and all these other things, Valentine's Day, Easter, July 4th. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that you can tie stuff to, especially in your advertising and other things that can grab people's attention. And in some cases, like Black Friday, people are holding out to see what kind of offers and hooks people are going to have for Black Friday. They're standing there with money burning a hole in their pocket, ready to buy. So let's do some example hooks real quick. So that, and you're like, will these really work, Jim? Yeah, these really work. So here are some example hooks that you can use. And this is like a swipe file for you, okay? Y'all going to be grabbing screenshots. So who blank from blank? All right. Now you're like, what does that mean? Oh my God, this looks like Bad Libs. Who makes money from blank? Oh, who makes money from blank? Who makes money from inflation? That's curiosity. Who makes money from Amazon? Who makes money from AI? Who makes money from anything that you're talking? Who makes money from Go High Level? Think about how you could use that in an ad, in a subject line, whatever. Let's do another one. How to blank no matter what blank. This is a great one. This is a derivation on basically how to benefit without pain, but this is how to get the thing you want with no matter what something's happening. So how to sell more books no matter what experts tell you. How to become financially free no matter what the economy is doing. Next one, how to blank even though you're not a blank. See, here's the thing. Most people believe that what's holding them back and why they can't get what they want comes down to a few things. The number one thing that people believe is that there is somebody somewhere who has this holding back secrets, that if they only knew those secrets, they would be able to get a result. And pretty much people are right after that thinking the only people who can make or get results are people who are insiders. Okay. That's why you see things like I saw guys making a killing with a report about what Congress people are doing as far as their trading in the stock market, because it's assumed that those people are doing insider trading. Anybody with knowledge you don't have. So how to create killer sales copy, even if you're not a copywriter. How to do one with me, Paulson. Okay.
Let's see. How to launch high level even though you're not a techie.
Okay. Or how to launch a profitable funnel even though you're not a webmaster.
There you go. Yeah. How
Okay.
to speak on stage even though you're not a speaker.
There you go.
Right.
Or you can also play around with a little bit, how to crush it from the stage, even though you're not a confident public speaker, or even though you're not a classically trained public speaker. It's whoever or whatever is you would assume would have the answers that you're looking for, that they would have the insider information that's going to give you what you need. 5 critical questions to blank. 5 critical questions to make your sales letter sell like crazy. 5 critical questions to make your sales funnel take off like a roaring prairie fire. 5 critical questions to save your relationship. 5 critical questions to effectively prepare for financial disaster. 5 critical, I mean, it's you can use it for anything. And then here's the thing. It's who, what, where, when, why, and how. That's how you can build your sales message. And then the how is whatever you're selling them. What? Yeah, I'm telling you, this stuff really works. Is your blank a great blank? Okay. Is your headline a great hook? Is your funnel a great sales funnel? Or could it be better? Uh-oh. Worried about blank? How about not having to blank anymore? It's like a double question in a hook. Worried about taxes on tips? How about not having to work for tips anymore? Oh, snap. Okay. Worried about sales letter conversion? How about not having to worry about traffic anymore? Or worried about the cost of ads? How about not having to worry about traffic anymore? See, when you start and I'm be honest with you, I internalize these things. I read these, I'll sit there and in sales copy with a pen and start looking for the patterns to see if I can find a new pattern I haven't seen before. This blank is so good, it's going to put you in a no tax bracket. This copy tip is so good, it's going to put you in a new tax bracket. This, now your legal department might be having a freaking meltdown over it, but this funnel software is so good, it's going to put you in a new tax bracket. So again, what does that mean? Well, the interesting thing is when we say something like this copy tip is so good, it's going to put you in a new tax bracket, actually is totally up to the viewer, the listener, the reader. They're making their own picture. And that's the beauty of a great headline. It's like that one I told you about before. This is going to give you a positively unfair advantage in business and in life. Dude, what does that mean? It means whatever you interpret it to mean. Those are the best ones, rather than you see people spelling it out. It's like telling a story where you give so much detail, it's just painful. What you want to do is use words that create pictures in the minds of your audience, but it creates their pictures of what it's worth and what it means. Okay. So those are headlines. Hooks, hook, story, offer, hook, bottom line, grab somebody's attention, pre-frame them for what's coming next, get them excited, whether it's with curiosity and or solving their problem, and move on. Now, before we go into sales stories, I'm going to just talk about one thing real quick. Well, Jim, I've heard that we're not just solving problems. Sometimes we're satisfying desires. Yeah, but the problem is if you're satisfying a desire, their problem is they ain't got the desire yet. So ultimately, we're getting paid to solve problems. And so if your headline can address a problem, especially if you're new, especially if you're not practiced at this, you are going to get better results than if you're trying to get all fancy schmancy and prove how smart you are. Because I know how some of you are, because I used to be like this too. You're like, oh, okay, well, that guy's kind of goofy. He's tatted up a little bit. Don't look that smart. Maybe he's a little old. I'm smarter than him. I'm going to take those things he showed and I'm just going to improve on them. Do me a favor. Just try them as is, see how they work, and then do an A/B split test. Okay, that's one of the biggest things with any kind of copywriting is when you do it the first time, do it exactly the way the person tells you to do it. And once you see what the results are and you're able to establish your baseline, then start testing. That would be just some sage advice, because every time I've ever tried to take somebody's stuff and massively improve on it, because I know better, even though I've never done it before, my results aren't as good as they might have been.
Now, I would love for the folks here to interact and kind of give us some feedback. Give us a temperature check of where you are. I would love for everyone to type in hook, story, offer. Are these things that you've heard before, or maybe you know about it, but you haven't implemented it? Tell us where you are in the testing ground. Do you test out funnels? Do you test out copy for your emails? Do you test out different call to actions? Do you test out subject lines? Maybe you're a speaker. Do you test out your intro? Do you test out your tonality, volume, rate of speech? Like, are these things that you pay attention to? Give us a temperature check here of where you are. Let's see. Okay, a ton of you are interacting. Awesome. And this is going to help us with comprehension. I don't want all of you to just be here and just learn a bunch of stuff. I want you to just take one or two things and apply to your business, because that's the biggest compliment you can provide Jim, myself, and the High Level family, is that you implement some of these things that you learn and it changes your business for the better. Okay, let's go into the next thing. You said sales funnels, sales letters, sales
stories.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
we're talking
right.
today. We're talking about hook, story, offer. Tomorrow we're going to get into actual sales funnels. But the interesting thing is that the most important part of any sales funnel is the hook and the story. So this is why we're laying the foundation for all this stuff right here. So let's jump over. We're going to jump back over to some slides just real quick because we are. So some sales stories as far as definitions. What is a sales story? A sales story is a narrative that creates emotion and connects with the reader on an emotional level. Yeah, it's kind of boring. Here's another one. Here's why it's important, okay? People buy based on emotion and they justify on logic, which makes a compelling sales story crucial for persuasion. Now, we're going to get into a whole bunch of different types of stories, but I want you to think about what I just said, all right? And I'm going to clarify what is a story. So the story in hook, story, offer, okay? The story can be a story. The story can also be, it can be a story about you. It can be a story about them. It can be a story about a product. But we are hardwired to pay attention to stories and to respond to stories and to become emotionally involved in a story. Now, Paulson, with a beard like that, I know you are a manly man. But I also know that you have seen at least one Disney film that made you cry.
I cried on Moana, and I'm looking forward to the second Moana coming out.
Okay, I cried. See, this is the difference in generation. First Disney movie I ever cried to was Old Yeller. Okay. And why would you, sitting in a room with flashing lights, be able to cause somebody or allow somebody to make you cry or to feel inspired or to feel pumped up or loved or whatever? It's because it's a story. Stories make us feel emotion and we buy on emotion. Now, you say, Jim, I think through everything. Do you? How many times have you ever bought something where you read the headline, you scrolled down, you looked at the thing, you're like, hey, it looks pretty good. I think, yeah, I'm going to get this. So you bought it. As soon as you bought it, you're like, oh, crap. Did I make a bad decision? And then you go back and read every single word of the sales copy or the detail specs or all that stuff, and you become an expert on that thing, so that before it comes, you're telling your wife how you made a great decision, why it's a great deal, all the crap that she has no interest in whatsoever, but you start telling the story of the product or of the person that you just bought from, and their story becomes your story, so you can keep and store that emotion to justify, again, why you bought. Now, I know you've done it. We've all done it. That's how it works. So the thing is, though, and ultimately, a great story should illustrate and inspire. What does that mean? It should make the audience believe that they can get the result. So I'll tell you an example. I have written a sales letter and a presentation that's generated over $40 million in sales. That might not sound like a lot to some people, might sound unattainable to a lot of other people. But the most successful story I have ever told is the story of how I was able to create about $1,500 a month in consistent income from sales of my first book. Now, I'm going to tell you the story in like a minute. Wrote a book on how to sell your house yourself. Couldn't get it published for 4 years, threw it in a drawer. 1997, ran into a fraternity brother at college at homecoming. He told me he and his dad had just bought a web server. He had absolutely no business giving me a yes answer to the following question. Hey man, you think I could sell my book on the web? He's like, absolutely. He had no idea. He just wanted to sell web services. So I spent the next 4 years putting up a 40-page website and trying to figure out how to sell my book. And I was making sales. I got really good at driving traffic. Then I was exposed to the idea of a one-page sales letter. That night, I went back to my hotel room, converted my 40-page website to a one-page sales letter. My sales increased 250% literally overnight. I started making enough money from sales of that book to cover a house payment, 2 car payments, and the light bill. And this enabled me to move out of a trailer park where I'd been living for the previous 7 years as a result of a whole bunch of bad business decisions. And so telling that story about how a single sales letter could change your life has had way more impact on people's lives, because that's believable. Oh yeah, that guy looks like a chucklehead. But see, notice I didn't say $1,500 a month. It was enough to cover a house payment, 2 car payments, and the electric bill. Absolutely true. With some money left over for cable. Okay. Now, it was a little house, 1,200 square foot. It doesn't matter. In their minds, they're like, dude, his house payment, the car payments, holy crap. And that story's had more impact on my ability to sell and have people resonate than any other story. And it's 100% true. If anything, I downplay some of the grislier aspects of my life, because people, there's no way you lived in a trailer park and we're digging through the couch cushions looking for change for bread and milk. Yep, more than once. I'd have friends come over, sit down, lean way back in the couch, man. Like, hey, I love you, dude. Give them a hug while they're on the couch, hoping change would drop out of their pockets. The bottom line is you want to use stories to show that you understand the problem and you can provide a solution. And what that does is it creates empathy, real empathy that they feel, the reader, the listener, the participant. When your story, the story that you're telling, whether it's your story or it's somebody else's story, and we're going to talk about types of stories, but when that story resonates and when that story becomes their story, dude, it's all over but the crying. They're buying. And some people, oh, that sounds manipulative. No, it's not. It's honest human communication. You asked earlier, about, well, is your product got to be any good? Yeah, your product's got to be good. And if you believe that your product or whatever you're selling is good and that it's going to benefit people and it's in their best interest to buy, then you owe it to them and yourself and your family to do everything you can to sell in an authentic way. And there's no more authentic way to sell than to tell a real story. Now, can you abuse this and make stuff up? Absolutely. Do you deserve to burn in the hot place if you do that? Yep, you do. So don't do that. But the thing is, you don't have to do that. All of us have an endless supply of amazing stories in us. So number one thing a story does is create the desired emotion. People buy an emotion, they justify on logic. Sales stories should always create emotion. And, you know, I just told you the story about the trailer park. That's the trailer park funnel story. Absolutely true. I literally have a picture I show with that shows the trailer where I used to live with a broken down pickup truck in front of it. Your story becomes their story because they internalize it, and that's what makes the copy effective. Now, the number one thing that people you should be asking is like, oh man, you know what? You might, what kind of story can I tell? The number one thing you need to ask is, how do you tell a story? Not what story should I tell, but how do you tell a story? Because intrinsically, you already know how to tell a story. Whether it's in a 1-minute video, whether it's in sales copy, whether it's in a 10-minute thing, it doesn't matter. All right. You know how to tell a story. You tell the story the same way you would tell it belly to belly with somebody. Okay. Now you're like, well, I don't understand. Well, I'll give you an example. So I got a good friend of mine. He teaches dads. He teaches self-defense. He's taught self-defense forever. He's a jujitsu whiz. He was in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies as one of the bad guys. Wonderful human being. Loves to help people to be safe. Trying to come up with a story or trying to tell the story of really the origin of his journey in helping people to protect themselves. Moms, daughters, sons, dads. And he got all wrapped up in the process. Oh, I got to craft the perfect script. And then I got to, can I have AI read it? He's getting all caught up in the, well, should I have somebody else read it? And, I need visuals. And I mean, we're going around this thing for weeks. Okay. And he's sending it to me. It's a real good friend of mine. So when it's your friends, you don't really kick your buddies in the nads when they're messing out. It was like, okay, And finally it was a Friday night. And I'm like, dude, cut the crap, turn on your phone and tell the story like you told it to me. And that's what he did. And it was the most amazing story I've ever heard because he told it from his heart and he told the truth. And so we're going to go through story templates here in a minute, and you'll, to your heart's little content. Oh, well, there's got to be more than one way to tell a story. There's a whole bunch of different ways. But you've got to tell it authentically. It's got to come from the heart. If your story, whether the story is in an ad, whether it's in a sales letter, whether it's in a blog post, whether it's on a podcast, whether it's whatever, it's got to come from the heart. People can spot a phony, but if you're authentic and that story's real, your copy can suck. And people will buy. You think I'm kidding, but I'm not. I don't care. I loved it. It was amazing. Whatever it's got, I'll give it my credit card. I gotta do it. Just telling you, the story is where you build the emotion. If you can build the emotion, people are going to buy. All right. So let's talk about some specific types of stories that you can tell. Is this good, Paulson? Or are you like, I don't know if we're going to have
No,
this guy back?
I love it. As you're teaching this, I've done so many of these workshops, and I can tell when someone is coming from tears, sweat, frustration, of the thing that they're teaching. So I can tell from what you're teaching, these are things you've went through and had a lot of hardships of screwing up a bunch of stuff, to be flat honest, right? So
Scar tissue.
what there's a lot of scar tissue from the concept of what you're teaching, being in a previous agency owner myself, and so I just want to get out of the way and let people absorb the content honestly.
So these first, I appreciate that, man, because it's all true. Scar tissue, man. If you pulled my shirt off, it'd be like, what happened to you? It's just like, but it's all good. You know, this is the stuff that it makes it real. So the main story templates you can tell, and the first couple three are derivations of the same type of story, the same category of story. So, you know, you've heard of your origin story. The origin story, it basically follows the hero's journey as far as the structure, and it details how you or your product came to be. That's the origin story. It's like, hey, I was here and it sucked and that was amazing and here we are. And it typically includes stage, and I'm going to walk you through this here in a minute from the board. So just, you know, pay attention. It includes basically, here's a problem. We hit rock bottom, discovered a solution, and ultimately were transformed by the experience. That is at the heart of every great story. That's Star Wars, that's Harry Potter, that's any great story is that. Now, real close, like running neck and neck at the Kentucky Derby, okay, is another horse called the Transformation Story, which is basically the origin story, but it's focused more on the personal transformation than the payoffs. So I got this, but you know what? None of that matters, Paulson. None of that matters. What matters is who I became in the process. And people are like, oh, it's amazing. And then the epiphany story is basically the hero's journey story, the transformation story, but it focuses on that moment of realization. When you realize something, like the bolt from God, the wet towel to the face, the whatever, the holy crap moment. And that's what led to the creation of the product or the change in your approach. And often, though, it's tied to you had the exact same problem that your audience has, and you were able to solve it for yourself. And then it became your life's mission to now help everybody else solve that. Okay. So those three are really closely linked together. I'm going to come over to the board real quick and just illustrate this for you so you understand and you can see it visually. Okay. Because I think the visual will help. So this is, you've probably heard of the hero's journey. In the classic hero's journey, it's a circle. Okay. And it's like, you talk about the underworld and all this. It's great. Okay. I want to do this real quick. So here we are. Okay. Here's where you're starting out. Life's not, life just is what it is. Okay. And you see this thing. All right. Maybe you see something you want off in the distance. Maybe just something happens, but there's some sort of an event where you immediately go over the cliff. It could be your fault. You know, it's my fault. I had a 6-figure job working for a mortgage company and decided I was going to get rich in an MLM. Woo, that was real stupid. So quit my job, went full time in an MLM. That ended in bankruptcy. So immediately, though, stuff starts going bad. And then things go from bad to worse. All right. And then you hit rock bottom. Holy Jesus, I'm screwed. I mean, this is bad. This is when, just when you didn't think it could get any worse, it gets worse. I had $20 to buy food for the entire month of February. Then there's a couple of things that can happen here. Sometimes there's a loss of a friend. There's a loss of a friend or a significant person. Now, for me, I'll tell a story here in a minute. This is absolutely real. I hit rock bottom, lost my best friend. Never got him back. But then there's some sort of event that happens. You discover something, a person shows up, you realize something, but there is something that happens that causes the separation of the path, where you get off the path and you start doing something else. Then there's a whole bunch of activity. Busted my ass, busted my ass, busted my ass. Said it 3 times. I guess it's PG-13 now. But there's all this activity, and I got it. I got it. I got the thing, or I recovered. Okay? But then I realized, when I look back, it wasn't at all about the thing. It's about who I became in the process. And so now the purpose of your product, the purpose of your service, the purpose of your book, the purpose of your SaaS, the purpose of your agency is to create the bridge so that no one has to suffer through what you suffered through, and they can just concentrate on getting the result and becoming actualized just like you. Now, that story also tells all the bad crap that could happen. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have that happen. I don't want to live in a trailer park. I don't want my wife to look at me and say, you got 30 days or you got to go get a job at Lowe's. Take my money. And that's why the story works so great. Okay. Like I said, there's a bunch of different ways to tell the story, but this is it. You can focus on the epiphany. You can focus on the activity. You can focus on any one particular aspect a little more than others. And that's what makes it an epiphany story as opposed to a transformation story, as opposed to a hero's journey. It don't matter. It's the story of the progression that answers so many questions in somebody's mind in a sales situation of why you, why this, why now, which are really the big, and if you're not writing that down, you don't have to. I mean, it's one of those things, you just blow it off. Don't worry about it. Why you, why this, why now? Why should I listen to you? Why is this relevant to me? And why should I buy this now? This addresses all of that. And you're like, well, I had a guy one time tell me, he said, man, I'm really jealous of you guys. I said, dude, what are you even talking about? He said, well, I'm scared I'm never going to be able to get rich because I never went bankrupt. I never lived in a trailer park. I'm like, dude, that's just dumb. Okay, number one, it's not like I'm reveling in it. I'm just making lemonade out of lemons. But there's all kinds of stuff you could do this about with struggling and figuring stuff out. It doesn't have to be you're living in a trailer park with, living. When I see you at the Go High Level, well, I'll tell you some trailer park stories, bro. But this guy got so enamored with that. Wouldn't you know, 5 years later, the IRS showed up to his house and took everything he had. Yeah, I'm like, dang, that was probably the wrong way to look at that, bro. Anyway, not saying that story is powerful, but it's powerful. So,
what's funny about that is I jumped into entrepreneurship, I want to say 2014. I was in healthcare before that, and I bought this 997 course that painted this picture that next thing in the next 3 months, I should be able to launch an agency and crush it. Little did I know, I just signed up for the next 7, 8 years of the biggest personal development training, trained by myself.
yep.
And It all came to me when my wife, we went out to dinner a couple of months back, and she was like, you should be really proud of what you're doing now. You're, part of a software thing, and I've seen 5 different evolutions of you. And it was so important to remember that. If I knew that I had to change 5 different times to become a new version of myself 5 different times, I don't know if I would have just jumped in right away, right? But that is the price. That is the price that it takes to build something that's long lasting. And we see this in our mastermind groups when people come and, we're helping them see the different phases that they're going to go through. But good reminder, Jim. That's a good
So
reminder, even for myself.
here's the thing. Everybody's going to pay the price. If there's something you want, you're going to have to pay the price in time, energy, effort, and education, or you can not pay the price, but pay another price that lasts a lifetime called regret. So you're going to pay the price one way or another. You can either pay it up front. It's like my trainer tells me, he's like, there's going to be pain. You can either choose when to experience it and then you'll feel good the rest of the day, or your body will hurt all day. But anyway, I'd love to have that philosophical discussion with you at some point, but we digress. Let's talk about a few more customer stories. So another story that's great is a customer success story. Okay. These show how your product or service or SaaS or whatever has helped real customers overcome challenges and achieve results, and there's social proof that helps prospects envision their own success. I have seen people ride one or two customer success stories to millions of dollars. This is not an income claim. Your results may vary. Any income figures mentioned are purely for illustrative purposes. I won $1 million on a slot machine one time, Paulson. It was pennies though. So a million pennies is 10 grand. I was still excited though. But I think people really underestimate the power of a great customer success story. Everybody knows you can do it because it's your thing, but will it work for people like me? Another type of story that you can tell is a problem solution story. And this tells a story vividly. It paints the picture of the problem, and then it introduces your product or service as the solution. Now, something we're going to talk about tomorrow, but I'll introduce it a little bit just right here, just for one quick second. And that is, you may have heard this problem story. You've probably heard problem, agitate, solve. This is the classic story of here's the problem, here's why it's worse than you think it is, and here's the solution. Okay. You got really bad dandruff. No one's going to marry you. Head and Shoulders, you'll find love, or Coors beer. Okay. This is the pro version. Problem, agitate, eliminate, solve. Tell the story of the problem, make it worse, eliminate all the usual solutions they think will solve it, including waiting. Then introduce the solution. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. It's a little precursor, but that's an example of a sales story that isn't like the epiphany story. Okay. Problem, agitate, eliminate, solve. Let me tell you a little story about a guy named Jed. Sorry. Some people are like, you know what that's from, right? Beverly Hillbillies. Sorry.
Remind us.
Beverly Hillbillies, man. All right. I'm showing my age. I'll stop. All right. Here we go.
I feel like a TikToker when you said that.
Raise your hand if you can remember when TV only had 3 channels. That's what will let us know. All right. Behind the scenes stories, another type of story you can sell and tell. And this is basically where you tell a story. You give people insight into your process, into your company values, or how you developed your product. You lay bare the story of how you do what you do. Great example. Dollar Shave Club.
Oh yeah.
Haven't seen that video in forever, but anyone that ever saw it, holy crap, dude. That was a behind the scenes story in a minute that launched an empire.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Okay. You talk about building trust and connection with your audience. I want to go watch that again just now, just because. All right. Next one, failure to success story. And this is basically where you show, hey, I sucked. I mean, I sucked worse than you suck. And I sucked so bad that you should feel sorry for me even now. And also, though, because I was a failure, you don't have to be. And telling the story and showing how you overcame that and making the journey that they know they're going to have to take. See, here's the thing. People are looking for the shortcut, the hack, the whatever, but deep down, they know they're going to have to pay some price. But they're hoping there's somebody who can at least make it as pain-free as possible. That's what you got to do. So, couple story tips. Story should always increase emotion and emotional pressure, and it should make that emotion immediate. It's not enough to just tell the story and then, oh, I feel kind of bad. No, I want you crying because the boy is crying because he's about to shoot old Yeller after we thought he didn't have rabies. The other thing is you got, and this is where, I teach classes, big, long classes on this. You got to balance the length, the clarity, and the creativity. I am guilty of old man stories now. I'll be 60 in a few years here. I'm closer to 60. I am to 50. And I'm falling into the old man story thing where I got to do 5 minutes of prep to tell a 1 minute story. So my grandsons are like, Grandpa, you're telling an old man story. Oh, sorry. So length, is this TikTok or is this a warm up for an hour speech? Is this a 10-page sales letter or a 50-word ad? Got to be able to balance that length, the details, the clarity, the creativity, all that stuff. And you know what that comes from? Practice, testing, putting stuff out there, seeing what resonates with people, see what doesn't. But a real good attempt at a heartfelt story, and you tell it with good intention. I've seen it where it like gets a little boring, but nobody's rude or punches you in the face. So no sweat. Any questions on this before we move on to, hey, look at you. We're like in that sync, man. Hey, Paulson, any questions before we move on? Question for you, man.
Yeah, question. The storytelling in the medium of written language versus videography versus whatever else you can think of, like does it change much? Like if I'm writing a blog versus if I'm just shooting a video, like what are the mechanics that you pay attention to when it comes to copy in mind?
If I had to really just lay it down, all right, and I mean like brass tacks, 11th grade English, C's get degrees, whatever, use verbs. Okay. Use default to verbs whenever possible, because verbs are the thing that cause people to create mental imagery. I ran across the street and almost get hit by a semi. It's different than, I mean, I've kind of trained myself in a way to, I looked both ways and saw a car screaming past left and right. Holy crap, how the hell am I going to get across this road while I'm dragging these 2 grocery bags and a mugger's chasing me? I mean, just spare the details, actually. Not, this will fall flat with a lot of people, but it's a difference between a writer like Stephen Clancy and Stephen Hunter, or Tom Clancy and Stephen Hunter. One guy takes 12 pages to describe a boat, and the other guy uses verbs and has you ginned up in about a paragraph.
Yeah.
You don't over detail. Shoot for emotion, lots of verbs, tell it from the heart. Okay. I mean, that in a nutshell, with the time that we have, that would be my number one thing.
Yeah, I've heard people call it bring the character to life. So I was screaming and I was running full speed, and then they're like describing the emotion versus talking about the event, right?
And also, what you, if you can, begin your story with a point of high drama. So if I'm going to tell the story of living in the trailer park, I was sitting at my computer and felt a cold drop of water hit the back of my neck. I looked up and saw a stream of water start pouring through the light fixture, and I realized there was a hole in the roof of my trailer. I put my head in my hands and started to cry. How did I get here? Now, I don't know about you, but I got to shake that off, because that was real. Okay. I lived in a trailer with a leaky roof and a bad electrical system. Ate for an entire month off $20 in February. I don't know. I mean, you guys tell me, did that hook you in at all? Were you like, what the heck is going on here? Okay. I always want to, I wrote a zombie book just to prove that I could, and that I could make it a bestseller. And I did. And I wanted to write another one simply to be able to use the line, a freaking dog, as the bullets whizzed past my head as I ran through the woods at breakneck speed. All I could think was a freaking dog. And then that would be the story about, ended up having to shoot somebody's dog and they were crazy and all this. Just anyway, begin with that point of high drama. And again, you can kind of suck as a storyteller, but you tell the right emotional story and begin with the high drama, you can do some serious damage.
I love it.
I hope that helps.
Absolutely. And to reemphasize of why we're teaching a class on copywriting, for all of you SaaSpreneurs, agency owners, resellers, speakers, influencers, affiliates, I mean, even us at high level, corporate, copywriting matters a lot. And that's the glue that moves the needle in most businesses across the board. It's the ability for you to make the customer or the prospects feel the emotionality that's required to make a purchase.
Let me bring it home even more.
Go for
You're
it.
an agency, you're a SaaS, you're an author, you're a speaker, you're a coach, you're a e-commerce person. What's the difference between you and them? What's the difference between this guy and this guy, other than this guy's eyes are a little bit more level?
I think one of them has hair. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the difference between you and your competitors? Everything you do can be cloned. It can be outsourced. It can be copied. It can be improved. It can be obfuscated. Everybody. Don't think you can't be copied, because you can. Whether it's with AI or some chucklehead off of Fiverr. If you're making money, look at Etsy, man. Look at Etsy, where something comes out, somebody makes something cool, and then all of a sudden every knockoff from freaking China and everywhere else is coming in. They screw it up for everybody. The only thing you have that cannot be copied, cannot be cloned, cannot be ripped off, cannot be outsourced, cannot be duplicated in any way, the only thing you have is your story. Your story that becomes your brand, that becomes their story, that becomes the reason why they buy and why they stay with you. Because your story has become their story. They are invested in your story, and they are now invested in you. I got people that can tell my trailer park story better than I can. And they show up every time, and they're listening too. They're listening to see if I tell it the same way. They're listening to see if I add a layer of bullshit to it. Sorry if I'm not allowed to say that. I apologize. I just went to PG-13.
You are.
But the thing is, if you're telling a true story from the heart about you that builds you and builds your brand and builds your backstory and builds who you are, you'll always tell it the same way. You might remember different details and stuff, but you're going to tell it the same way, and you don't have to embellish. But that, again, and we got to keep going, your story is the only thing that separates you from everybody else, especially now in the hyper-connected world that we're in, where everybody looks the same. I mean, everyone knows people are starting to look the same, dude. All these filters and bad nutrition. It's starting to look the same, man. Anyway, I'm off my soapbox. It's true.
Yep.
Most profitable thing you can do is learn how to tell your own story in a way that makes people want to do business with you.
Yeah.
God's honest truth.
One of the biggest questions we get among SaaSpreneurs is, hey, man, how do I differentiate myself? I've got the same subscription everybody else does with a different logo. And especially in our Dallas masterminds, we help people bring out the stories in them that they don't even see, like there is a story attached to how you launch your business, or how you failed here, or how you miscalculated there, or you hit a hyper hockey stick growth and can't figure out why that happened. I mean, there's a story attached to every single one of you, and that is bigger than the logo. That's the actual brand positioning and identity.
Every multi-million-dollar product I've ever had a hell of a story behind it. And the story was 100% true. And the story resonated with the target audience so well, they had to be a part of it. All right, let's keep going. So now we're on to the third part of hook, story, offer. And the third part of hook, story, offer is offers and calls to action. You're like, wait a minute, Jim. What do you mean? Offers and calls to action? Yeah, because sometimes your offer is a call to action. Sometimes your offer is a thing. Other times it's a call to action. So we got a couple definitions we got to hit, okay? So an offer can be the specific product, service, or deal being presented to the potential customer. So here's my thing. This is what it costs. Here's all the goodies you get. All right. The offer should be clearly defined and positioned as the solution to the reader's problem. And you're like, that's pretty obvious. Yeah, okay, well, read some people's copy and let me know if that's how they've actually done it. Okay, here's your problem. Here's the solution. It's amazing. Offer stack. The difference between the offer and the offer stack, the offer is basically a promise. The offer stack is the stuff. It's a presentation of the value proposition for a product or service, and it's the list. It showcases all the components, the bonuses, and the benefits that the customer is going to get. So you're going to get this, and you're going to get this, and you're going to get this, and you're going to get this. And when you act today, you're also going to get this bonus, and this bonus, and this bonus. And it's absolutely amazing. It's a cornucopia of value. You actually watch old TV commercials and infomercials and stuff for fun. It drives my wife insane. Okay, so an offer stack typically includes the main product or service. So this is the big main thing that holds the promise of solving that problem. So it's your class, it's your widget, it's your other thing. But we also got to build value. So this is where we have additional bonuses or complementary items. We have some sort of special features they get, a special level, some kind of exclusive access, and then there's some type of time-limited or other scarcity elements, and then there's pricing information and any discounts, okay? This is pretty standard. But one of the big places where people screw this up is that in order to have, they've seen everybody, if one thing's good, then obviously 10 things in your offer is better. So they add a bunch of crap. Everything about your offer has to be complementary to the main product or service. It can't just be random crap so that you're just piling stuff on. Now, as an aside, I will be teaching at the Go High Level event how to do your next $1 million offer. It's not an income claim. Your results may vary. But the bottom line is there's a very sequential way of doing it. There's a very scientific way of putting this together. The bottom line is, though, it all has to make sense. And it all has to be, I'm going to take 1 second real quick and explain this. So if you think about when you're trying to get somebody to buy, imagine that the offer is like a kettle and it has holes in it, and you got your fire under here. Obviously I was better at finger painting, but you got your fire and you got water in here. And in order, though, to get somebody to buy, you have to get the water to boil. So we put a top on this, and let's say it's a teapot, all right? But we got holes in this thing. So what we got to do is we got to plug these holes in order to be able to keep the pressure in there enough so that the water will boil. And the way we do that is by having the main offer, but then any of the bonuses and the other stuff is slapping a patch over the areas where they think they're missing either a skill or some level of knowledge or some sort of a resource or some sort of support, which, by the way, are the 4 main issues that people are concerned about. Those are their main objections and stuff. Okay, knowledge, skill, resources, and support. So our offer plugs those holes, so they're like, yeah, I got to have this. I got to get it. So that's the way visually I've always looked at this, is what are the holes that would keep it from being able to boil so they would buy. That's a way to look at it. It's called a metaphor. Look at me with them big 11th grade English language, 11th grade English stuff. Okay, so let's keep going. All right, so the other thing that an offer can be, though, is, and this is part of an offer. So this is the interesting thing, is that you can have an offer that is a call to action, but every offer has to end with a call to action. So this is basically an explicit instruction to buy now, call today, click here to learn more. Whatever it is, whatever you're telling somebody, part of the offer, again, the offer can be like, if you think about a video, at the end of a video, you're like, hey, if you'd like to learn more, go ahead and click the link below, or give us a like, give us a subscribe, click the link down in the comments, and you can find out more about how we can help you get XYZ benefit. Okay. That is a call to action and an offer all baked into one. But also when you're like, hey, you're going to get my software and you're going to get this cool bonus, and we've got the onboarding thing that's included this month and we'll set everything up for you and all that good stuff, and click the button to take your 30-day free trial. Well, crap, that's a great offer. Many of you have taken a similar offer to that through Go High Level. Okay. But you can't just tell them what it is and then leave them wondering what the hell to do, because they're all ginned up from your story and excited, and you got to tell them, hey, now's the time to buy. Oh yeah, it's time to buy now. I was so excited about everything. I didn't know this was time to buy. One way to think about this, because everybody starts channeling their inner Billy Mays and Ron Popeil and stuff, and that isn't necessary. And those are famous pitchmen, by the way.
The ShamWow guy, right?
No, ShamWow is a guy named Vince Offer, who was also famous for the slap chop. The dude's he literally changed his last name to Offer. So I majored in history, so it was either going to be a history teacher or go into sales. So now I know the history of sales. But you need to think of it like an invitation. If you think about it, like, everybody loves an invitation. If you invite somebody the right way, they'll come to your house, go drink beer, they'll bring food and chips. Okay. So think of your offer as an invitation to the next step, especially when you're doing an offer from one step in the funnel to the next, especially from an email. You ain't going to sell in an email. Every email is an invitation to take the next action that you want them to take. And you just invite people to the next step in your sales process, whatever that might be. By the way, here's something that you need to understand. There are only 5 things people can do with you online. Despite some of them funny videos you see, there's only 5 things that somebody can do with you and your funnel and all the amazingness that comes through Go High Level. There's only 5 things that they can do. But you'd be amazed at how nobody ever asks them to do even one. They can buy, they can try, they can click, they can sign up, or they can get on a live call or Zoom. That's it. Those are the only 5 things you can really invite somebody to do. Oh, well, you know, I could chat with them, Jim. Okay, fine. Fill out a form. If you really want to just, you know, that's okay. Buy, try, click, sign up, fill out a form. Sign up / fill out a form, get on a live call or Zoom. That's it. And so if you know what you want them to do, you build backwards. That's also the key too. What do I need to tell them in order for them to take the action I want them to take? Because sometimes people give way too much information on what they're trying to get people to do. If the only purpose on an email is to get somebody to click, which 99% of the time that's the purpose, the other purpose is to try and get them to get on a live call or a Zoom, but they're probably going to have to click a link to book it, unless they're calling an 800 number. You would be surprised, or maybe not, at how many people have so much extra crap in their emails that have nothing, that are just detracting from trying to get somebody to take that action. So think of it like an invitation. So the bottom line is always include a clear call to action. Tell people exactly what to do next. If I was going to boil down offers, especially calls to action, that would be what you would need to do. So let's talk for a second about, you know, how would we make our offers more effective? And one of the things that you want to do when we're talking about an offer is you want to create urgency. Now, you see this all the time with like product launches and other stuff like that. I think those go overboard. And I tell you, real quick story. I paid off my house with my first big offer. So I moved out of the trailer park, moved into a little house, paid that house off within 18 months with an offer. Made a mistake with that offer, and then I said, I will never sell this product again after Thursday night. That was stupid. So that night, when I closed it down, I was excited and depressed at the same time. Why? Because I'd made enough money to pay off my house, and I realized I had left $1 million on the table. Because to stay true to my word, I could not do what? Ever sell that product again. A great sales letter, converting sales letter, everything done, made the product, did all the thing, left $1 million on the table. Back when $1 million, this was back in 2003, back when $1 million was $1 million, not 350. And so that's like the path of last resort. But you can do it by adding deadlines. You can add limited time bonuses. But the smartest thing that you can do to increase urgency is to get so clear on the emotion attached to this inside the prospect that in order to satisfy that emotion, either of want or satisfy that emotion of fear, but to address that emotion, they are so emotional that they're not worried about anything other than I need to buy this fast enough before they raise the price on me out of thin air. That's where you want to get, because then you have an offer that will last for years. Potentially, this is not an income claim, your results may vary. I keep doing that because, I mean, apparently legal's watching.
I can appreciate it.
I'm just playing, but you know what I'm saying? So here's the thing. Everybody relies on these artificial things like, only the next 22 people. You're selling a digital download, chucklehead. Nobody believes you have a limited quantity of digital downloads.
Mm-hmm.
But you can put a time limit on a bonus, and then you just get creative and have a time limit on the bonus, and then the new bonus takes its place. The other thing you want to do is price your offers to be a no-brainer for your potential customers. How do you do that? Real easy. The way you make a price a no-brainer is homeboy's over here and he's looking at your product, all right? Your little awesome widget, all right? He's like, hey man, I really want that. That looks amazing. He has an expectation of how much that's going to cost. And if you present it the right way and he's like, man, that's worth a whole bunch. And then you say, yeah, and this is all it is. He's like, holy crap, I got to buy this right now. Okay. But what most people do is his perception is, it's not bad. Looks pretty good. I wonder. And people click on the pricing tab. Oh my God. You have pricing up at the top. Are you high? I'm not telling anybody the price until actually I've had a chance to build the value. But hey, that's just me. Yeah. But the actual price is this. And homie goes from happy to, what? That's a ripoff. Nobody's going to, and then they don't buy. So the key is no-brainer means you charge less than what they expect you should charge based on the value that you present. It's that simple. You got to build up the value so they're like, holy crap, that's worth a lot. That's going to help me. And it's only that. Heck yeah, take my money. But that's not what most people do. They just show a bunch of features and then ask what they want, and then they wonder why they aren't making any money. So the key to the whole process, okay, if we were going to, again, break it down, key to the entire process is most people either don't invite people to the next step or they do it badly, either by not explaining the value or by having just a muddy set of instructions, or it's just, they don't think of it. But if you think of it as an invitation, okay, this date, this party, my house, here's the map, here's the thing, here's what you need to bring, here's what you need to wear, who's going to be here, it's going to be amazing.
I love that. Jim, the biggest observation I see from high levelers specifically on offer is often they don't define the offer of why someone should jump into the offer. They talk about how the offer works from a tech standpoint. Like they talk about the mechanics of the offer versus the outcome and the result that the offer will create. Do you see that as common in marketers in general?
Yeah, especially when you're trying to sell your own stuff. Because, and it's a great metaphor, it's hard to be able to tell somebody what's inside the bottle when you're in the bottle. It's hard for you to be able to read what's inside the bottle when you're in the bottle. So what you got to be able to do is have tools and training and a team that can help you to understand the customer. And so you got to do a little channeling of the customer and you got to talk to them about what it does. So like Go High Levels, amazing. And it's got tons and tons of features that nobody's going to use every single feature. So, I mean, maybe there's one dude, who's using every single feature.
I doubt it, especially after this conference. We're going to probably release another 300 more features all around AI.
But if you remember way back at the beginning of this presentation, everything starts with the avatar and the offer, right? Well, it starts with the avatar. So what does that customer need? What are their fears? What's the immediate result they want? What are their objections that they think are keeping them from getting that? When you know all those things, then that helps you build the offer tailored to them. It might be just as simple. It's like if you were talking about authors, that's the other thing. People don't specialize. So, their idea of a customer is if they can fog a mirror, they're my customer. But now if I was going to go high level to like authors, how to sell your books on autopilot so you can absolutely focus on building your tribe and building your business instead of being a webmaster. How to automate the growth of your list so you have a ready, willing, and able audience to buy your next book. I could stop right there. Okay.
Yeah,
so that we sometimes get into too many details. So what do people want and what are they trying to get? What's the payoff? What's the number one big payoff that they're trying to get? And what's the big problem they're trying to avoid? And you can get dang close to it. So some example invitations. Okay. Click here to pay off. Click here to start selling more books. I'm just going to use that example that we just did. Okay. Click here to start selling more books. Claim your copy of blank now. Claim your copy of 7-Day ebook now. Go to gohighlevel.com or highlevel.com right now to claim your free copy of the funnel magic, the funnel magician's cookbook. I don't know. Just pay shipping and handling, or click the button below to start your 30-day free trial, your 7-day free trial. I mean, after you've established and done all the stuff we're talking about, at some point, you got to ask Susie for her phone number. But if you've done it right, you got a real good chance that Susie's going to give you her phone number. Sign up for the waiting list on Write Your Book today. Download your free, whatever the lead magnet is now to discover the big benefit. So we want to tie the thing to the benefit, to the payoff. Register for upcoming webinar to learn whatever. Register for upcoming training to learn valuable copywriting skills that can cause your empire to explode. Get instant access to Go High Level. Click here to get started. Try blank risk-free for 30 days. Try Go High Level for risk-free for 30 days. I mean, if you lead with that, they're like, what the hell Go High Level is? Nor do I, if you have established value the right way, and they're like, you mean that I can use this thing for 30 days and I ain't got to pay you nothing? And if I do all the stuff you tell me to do, there's a real good chance that I could make a sale between when I start and when you're asking me for money, so this thing can just pay for itself. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. By the way, that's great copy to tell right around when you make that offer. Just saying. All right, so here's your assignment. This is what I want you to do. I want you to look at your existing funnels, all right, and ask yourself, do you have a fully tested headline at the start of every page, every ad, and every post? I know the answer is no, so you know what you need to do. Do you tell enough stories? I know the answer to that one. And do you always invite people to the next step? And if you don't, here's my rule. Every page, every sales page, every content page, every video page, any kind of page, even page inside my SaaS, okay? Every page has a headline. Every page tells a little story about what's on this page. Every page has an invitation for these people to take action, whether it's using the software or downloading something or watching something or buying something. Every page has a hook story offer. Internal, external, everything. So over the next sessions, sales letter funnels. I'm going to get into specifically how you're going to make more sales. Lead funnels, specifically how you're going to get more leads. And follow-up funnels, specifically how to build relationships and back-end sales. That's what I've got for today. Paulson, did you get your money's worth today?
Oh, man. It's so far, I think one of the key things that I'm hearing from people as they're commenting, they love the content that's being presented, because we're going back to the fundamentals of marketing. We're going back to blocking and tackling from a football analogy instead of just throwing a bunch of Hail Marys, right? So I'm loving it so far. And just so you all know, as part of this workshop, is it okay if we invite you to a 30-day trial to high level and make it specific to this workshop? And if you do jump into this, we have a snapshot that our team has prepared along with Jim's team as well that has all kinds of copywriting, emails and funnels and all of that that's been basically Jim Edwards has approved and autographed. If you want access to that, I'm going to drop a link here. Sorry, I'm not the best salesman person, just so you know, but I want to invite everybody here to a 30-day trial. I just dropped it into the Zoom chat. So if you're watching this workshop and you're not part of the high level family, jump into this 30-day trial. I promise you, we're just getting started. Day 2 tomorrow, day 3, day 4. I promise you, you'll have your money's worth in what you're building. And we're gonna, go right in. Jim, can you share some notes of what's in the snapshot and why somebody should jump into this 30-day trial with high level?
So I've got some really cool training in there that you all can take advantage of. And when we get into the sales letter funnels and we get into lead funnels and we get into the follow-up funnels, we're not just telling you, but actually handing you some templates that you can use that are based on what I'm going to be teaching you. So it's like learn it, see it, do it, fill in the blanks.
Yeah,
That's and I
and
was just
this
gonna say what second half, why should you sign up for Go High Level? Two reasons. One, because it's the software that all the cool kids use, and number two, I use it. So those are the only two reasons you need. So go sign up.
Yeah, and if you're already an agency owner, if you are already on a plan, stay through until Thursday. We'll make sure the snapshots, the resources, collaterals, everything that we're giving you as part of new trials will be made available to you, but we won't release that until Thursday at the end of the workshop. And this offer, if you're brand new watching this, it does have an expiration date. As soon as we're done with the workshop, we're going to cut that off, and you're going to be affiliated to Jim as well. So then you'll be part of Jim's communities and everything that he's got going on. And it's a lot of value there from tons of people that tell us the same thing. So Jim, tomorrow, day 2, we're going to talk about sales funnels. What should be the expectation tomorrow when they come?
I'm gonna walk you step by step and block by block through how to assemble an effective sales funnel. I'm going to tell you what goes where, not just like, hey, it's sales learn and OTO and the upsell and all the others. No, I mean like, pre-head, head, sub-headline, salutation, all that stuff. And break that down for you in a way that you're just going to be like, holy crap, I can do this. Yes, you can.
I love it. Give me a one in the chat and comments if you have loved day 1 so far. I mean, Jim and I are just going back and forth like, friends almost. I've got the chance to spend a lot of time with him over the last month and a half, kind of really understood his style and how the teams work.
Are we
But
going to
give us
have
a one in the
barbecue?
chat.
Are we going to have barbecue in Texas when I see you
You
in
know
a
what?
couple of weeks?
You know what? We're gonna have to make barbecue happen at the conference. There is a place called Terry Black, and there's another spot in downtown Dallas. So the conference is in downtown Dallas. I mean, there's so many cool barbecue spots, taco spots, a lot of cultural foods everywhere. But so people are gonna be flying in Sunday, staying all the way to Friday. We have a VIP day that happens. I believe Monday, and then Friday we have a big affiliate celebration day as well. But if you haven't got a chance to get your conference tickets, actually I'm not going to talk about it. You're going to have to find it. It's the best conference I've ever been to, and I've been to ton, and our team run it. I'm a little biased, but excited to meet you there. But tomorrow, remember tomorrow, 12 o'clock Eastern, New York time, and we'll get going. And on Thursday, if we get ahead of all the content, maybe on Thursday we'll spend some time Q&A. But either way, replays will be available as well. But anyways, we'll end there for day 1.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for everybody for
Okay,
having me.
bye for now.
Bye-bye.